Good evening, welcome all of you. Namaste. This evening, we are of course going to discuss a very brilliant topic, that is on rejection. Everyone must be aware of the thing what has to be rejected, how to reject, and what is the need of rejection, how it helps. The thing to be realized, it must be discussed, it must be understood, it must be taken care of. So rejection is the topic of discussion for now. So we are going to discuss the brilliant topic right now, that is on rejection. So we'll start from Aurobindo brilliantly, then we'll go for the mother to discuss the topic that is on rejection. Aurobindo quotes, detect first what is false or obscure in you. Before going for rejection, the thing is that the detection part comes on the detection part comes first, it precedes. So the thing is that we are going to discuss, detect first what is false or obscure in you. In you, what is false or obscure in you, try to detect it. Then persistently reject it. Then reject you. First you detect. Detection is coming before rejection. First you detect it. What is the false and obscure in you? Then persistently reject it. Then reject it persistently. Then alone can you rightly call for the divine power to transform you. Number one is detection. Then you have to reject it persistently. The latter, after this first detection, then rejection. After that, there will be the part of the divine grace, divine power. So alone, then alone can you rightly call for the divine power to transform you. This is the condition. We have to first detect it. Then we have to try to persistently reject it, because it will be coming and coming. This it is incurrence, it will be coming. Then you will be, then can you rightly call for the divine power to transform you. Again, Sri Aurobindo beautifully quotes here, the transformation must be integral. Second condition is integral transformation. For the integral transformation in mind, life, body, psychic, spiritual, supramental, so many things, the transformation must be integral, and integral therefore the rejection of all that withstands it. So इंटीग्रल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के लिए इंटीग्रल रिजेक्शन जरूरी है. So transformation must be integral. Condition is that the integral therefore must be the rejection of all that withstands it. Third, then Mother Sri Aurobindo quotes again, when we reject passionately, beautifully Sri Aurobindo quotes, when we reject passionately, we mean simply that we can't appreciate and explain. When we reject passionately, we mean simply that we can't appreciate and explain. This is to be rejected. That is the only condition we are going to discuss, and the only we are going to explain, of course, here. Then we'll quote Sri Aurobindo again here. Beautifully, Sri Aurobindo is quoted. He has explained us in his own terms. We'll try to take care of these beautiful definitions. Divinization itself does not mean that a destruction of human elements. We know divinization is a must. Divinization must occur before bearing the pressure of the divine love. So the process of divinization, it must be there. It must take place. It does not mean the destruction of the human elements. The destruction, because already we have discussed in many times. We don't want to reject or destroy the things, instincts. Rather, we need the transformation. It means taking them off, showing them the way to their own perfection, raising them to purification and perfection to the full power and ananda, and the means, the raising the whole earthly life to the full power of ananda. This is what the thing. Sometimes we misunderstand because of these old faculties. They have got their limitation. They are going on the one way or another. Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully, divinization does not mean to destruction of the human elements. Once this destruction, wrongly we try to destruct it, to reject it, to demolish it. But thing is that really divinization, what it means, taking of them off the human elements, you have to take and raise it. Number two, showing them the way to their own perfection. They must be understand. They must be first. You must understand. They must be taken to the point, or to its own perfection. Then raising them to the purification. Third, and the perfection. Number one is actually it must not be actually destroyed. Destruction is not useful. No, we have to take them off, showing them the way of their own perfection. Third, raising them by purification and perfection to the full power of the Ananda, and that means raising the whole earthly life to the full power and Ananda. This is what it is in the lower hemisphere. It is a fallen state. It is abandoned. We have to raise it up to which earthly life to the full power and Ananda. So this is the things, and then again we are going to. Unfortunately, there is the resistance. Unfortunately, Sri Aurobindo uses the term. Unfortunately, it is there is a resistance, a very obscure and obstinate resistance. Not only in ordinary sense, very obscure and obstinate resistance. That necessitates a negative element in the yoga, an element of rejection of things that stands on the way and of pressure upon those firms that are crude and useless to disappear. There is also repeated pressure that point comes. It necessitates resistance, a very obscure and obstinate resistance. There is resistance, how it is, obscure and obstinate resistance that necessitates a negative elements in the yoga. This resistance, negative, an element of rejection of things that stands in the way and of pressure upon those forms that are crude and useless to disappear. So these are the things which are coming. On those there are useful but imperfect and have them perverted to return or recover their true movement. From this perversion must be converted into their to retain or recover their true movement. So to the vital, this pressure is painful. First, because of its obscure and does not understand. Number one, to the vital, this pressure is painful. The pressure it is feeling this is painful. First, because this obscure and it is does not understand. Secondly, because there are parts of it that want to be left in their crude motions and not change. Unchangeability, that is the criteria. It does not never really wants to change. First, the vital, that is painful pressure. Second, the changelessness, it does not want to change. This is why the intervention of the psychic attitude is so helpful. Without the intervention of psychic, that is very much painful, very much difficult. So that is why intervention of the psychic attitude is so painful. For the psychic has a happy confidence, the ready understanding and response, and the spontaneous surrender. So that's what the psychic, the characteristic of the psychic. With the psychic, this painful, this changelessness, this obscurity, this distortion, it will change. And how it will be changing? For the psychic has the own confidence, psychic has the happy confidence and happy confidence, the ready understanding and the response. There is a great understanding and response, and the spontaneous surrender. These are the things with the psychic. Again, Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully in his own writings. It is true that mere suppression or holding down, suppression or holding down of desire is not enough, but not by itself truly effective. So you sometimes we feel this is that the thing that this instinct must be suppressed, but it is not helpful. Here in the quotes, it is not the mere suppression or holding down of desire is enough. Not by itself it is truly effective, but does not mean that desires to be indulged. Then what we have to do? It means that the desires have not merely to be suppressed, but rejected from the nature. Suppression, it sleeps sometimes like we are seeing, sometimes it will come up. So we have been unknown volcano, we see sleeping volcano, dead volcano, living volcano. Living is all right, we see every time it is happening, we are careful. Dead, then is no chance of getting coming to life. But actually, sleeping one, that is most dangerous. We don't know. We sleep on it, and we make our building, and we make our settlement. And once it on certain at an uncertain point of time, it actually bursts, and things are gone. We get destroyed. So must be rejected from the nature without getting suppressed. In place of the desire, there must be a single-minded aspiration to the divine. That is what the criteria. That is what the requirement. Again, Sri Aurobindo quotes Nigraha means holding down the movement. We have known the term, we are acquainted with the term that actually means holding down the movement, but a movement merely held down is only suspended. It is only in the point of suspension. It is better to reject and dismiss, detaching yourself from it. So this is the Nigraha very beautifully. I will try to quote it again, try to explain it again. Very interesting. Nigraha means holding down the movement. But which movement? The movement merely held down is only suspended. It is better to reject and dismiss and detaching yourself from it, not merely just initially to hold down or to suspend it like this. So again, we'll go for a beautiful mother here in the course, not necessarily suspension. For the time being, we try to suspend, not necessarily suspension. It is refusal of food to desire. It is refusal of food is accompanied by the detachment of major part of the being. The difference between suppression, nigra means suppression, and the self-control means actually we have seen sayam. So, samyam is that I can't help desiring, but I will satisfy my desire. While the other says initially this is nigraha, and I refuse the desire as well as the satisfaction of the desire. Anyway, the purpose is that rejection must go. That is the theory. That is the principle. Again, beautifully steered in the course, everything which it thinks after the desirable in the to the vital, but desire has to be rejected. In no way desire must be entertained, it must be rejected. I want desire is quite the right thing to say. I want desire. Even if I don't desire, can't be said that by the vital. This is the criteria I must take care of it. Still, there is something in the being that can say, I want desire, refuse to recognize the vital desire as part of the true being. It is that consciousness who is the peace and power being that has to be recognized as a true I. What is the I? That is egoistic I or this self I? You have to see that what is that I and made permanent in front. That is the most requirement. It would be easier to get rid of wrong movements. Here in the again course, it is really easier to get rid of the wrong movements when you bring down a settled peace and equanimity into the parts of your being. When the settled peace and the power of equanimity is coming, is entering and getting settled in the being, there is no movement of the wrong movement. There is wrong process or there is no wrong movements. There will be no more. There will be no more of the automatic rejection of such movements and the less need of tapasya. So they think that less need of tapasya will be required and rejection of the such movements will be automatic. So what we have to do there to settle, to get down, to bring down the settled peace and equanimity to that place. Again, we'll of course we'll see what is the real position we are seeing here. Sri Aurobindo quotes here beautifully. The rejection of desire is essentially the rejection of the elements of the craving, putting them out of the consciousness itself as a foreign element, not belonging to the true self in the inner nature. That is what Sri Aurobindo tries to explain. Rejection of desire is essentially the rejection of the elements of craving, putting them out from the consciousness. There is no place for it as a foreign element not belonging to the true self and the inner nature. It is something not definitely, it is exterior one. Against your in the course of that rejection, it is only when that is done in the wrong way. The mental ascetic principle or hard moral rule that can be called suppression. Simply we are suppressing. So the first condition to get rid of desire is therefore to become conscious of the true consciousness, number one. Then psychic must come to the front, it has to take care. With the psychic push to the front, everything will be changing. Thank you.